Seven's telecast of the Rugby World Cup is proudly made possible by our telecast sponsors. Heineken, it's all about the beer. The new Qantas International Business Class. Harvey Norman, your digital camera specialist. GIO, the way insurance should be. The new Nissan Pulsar. Samsung Digital, everyone's invited. And Telstra worldwide partner, Rugby World Cup 2003.
What a night in Brisbane as we look down on Suncorp. The two teams about to come out, Australia and Scotland. Good luck to the Big Dell tonight. He's in his own backyard, isn't he? And your chance tonight to pick the man of the match. Here's how you go about it.
Each man of the match winner takes home $1,000 cash from GIO and this fantastic Samsung V200 phone with unique 180-degree rotating camera. Plus, everyone goes into the draw for $20,000 cash from GIO and a Samsung best seat in the house 42-inch widescreen plasma TV with a stylish swivel floor stand. Plus, a 15-inch widescreen LCD TV, perfect for the bedroom, kitchen or study. The total prize value is $11,500. The winner will be announced after the final on November 22.
Let you know how it's going at half-time. So that man of the match, the SMS 1881 007, and we'll keep you up to date at half-time. And then at the end of the match, and let you know who in fact has won it and who the lucky viewer has been. Well, the Scots haven't beaten Australia since 1982, but it was in Brisbane at Ballymore. But Australia's won its last 10 matches against Scotland, and this is the first time that these two teams have clashed in a Rugby World Cup. The Scots have been semi-finalists just once. The Australians in a unique position, having won the Rugby World Cup on 2 occasions. New Zealand and South Africa, the other countries to have been successful. So if the Wallabies are to create some history, this is the first of the big steps. Tim Horan, Greg Martin, Chris Buttahandy and Gordon Bray are our commentators.
State-of-the-art Suncorp Stadium setting for this second quarter-final between Australia and Scotland. And we're just waiting to see if Chris Paterson is going to come out here. I think I saw him there in the line, but he was felled a king hit. And it looks as though Chris Paterson is coming out in the starting lineup, so that is very good news. The Scottish fly half who was hit by a ball that was kicked through from the goal line, and he's maybe even slightly concussed, but there he is, and what a starring role he had last week. So Australia and Scotland out on the pitch. It's a sellout crowd here, and certainly the Australian fans dominating as far as the support goes. But I saw one fan, guys, he had a kilt on, he had a wallaby jumper, he had orange hair, and he had 2 Australian flags in his hair. So I think he was a little confused.
And he was playing Waltzing Matilda on the bagpipes, I think, as well. Good.
This week of racing, you call that an each-way bet.
So here's the Australian lineup. Justin Harrison, a late change coming in for David Giffen, who injured his thigh. Otherwise, it's an unchanged pack from the Irish Test match. And the big talking point is the uniting of the Rugby League superstars for the first time at Test level. The former Brisbane Broncos, Sailor Takiri with Matt Rogers, and Joe Roth dropping down to the bench for Scotland. Well, they've retained the front 5 forwards who muscled up against the aggressive Fijians last week. Jason White forces his way into the back row, an unchanged back line with Paterson having a resounding game at number 10. And surely he's destined to hold on to that jumper in the immediate future. Sudden death then. This is the second quarter-final, the 42nd match.
Ladies and gentlemen, the
of this year's World Cup. And now we stand by for the anthems, and firstly,
and national anthem of Australia.
For Scotland. Flower of Scotland was adopted as Scotland's rugby anthem in 1974 on the Lions Tour of South Africa. Billy Steele, the Scottish winger, used to sing it on the team bus.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are young and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is built by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty rich and rare. In history's page let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia
No me digas cuando León,
The Samsung E700 with self-portrait and multi-shot. Take your best shot.
That's me and my new notebook computer. I have to have one. I flexi-rented it so I could get the model I really needed. And I can update it when the next big thing comes along. Flexi-rent, I think it's fantastic.
Look at this, my new computer, my new way of submitting proposals. I just add a few digital pictures from previous jobs to sell the dream and print out photo quality copies. Cool, eh? Yeah, of course, I flexi-rented it.
More and more people are flexi-renting. With technology moving so fast, it makes sense. Ask anyone at your nearest Harvey Norman computer store.
Steve Walsh gets the second quarter-final underway, and immediately David Lyons, the big Australian number 8, takes it outside the 22. Well, the Scots have been written off by everyone. They've been described as hopeless, clueless, a joke. Bob Dwyer, the Wallaby coach, even said that Australia can win this game blindfolded. Let's see, because the Scots have shown before they know all about form reversals.
Well, there you see Stephen Larkin, the early kick just off the side of his boot. He needs to get the kick a lot further downfield.
So taken at the back, and that's Stuart Grimes, who jumped superbly last week against Fiji. We're on the 10-metre line in Australian territory.
Well, a good result for the Wallabies from the line-out. Redpath pointing out Phil Waugh, but he was still attached when it all mauled around. So long as he stays attached, he's okay, and a good result for the Wallabies from the line-out.
So in the maul, it's use it or lose it. If you take the ball in and you don't get it back to your scrum half, the scrum feed goes the other way. Stay on your feet, the golden rule.
Not a convincing first scrum, Buddha.
No, it does make you wonder, doesn't it? And Steve Walsh just quick to penalise anyone going through. They're desperate, the Scots. I don't think you can write them off. They're fighting words, anything that's been written in the paper. But it's up to them to show tonight. And I think a bit of over-exuberance there, fired up by the occasion.
Yeah, the best way to blunt that enthusiasm of the Scots is for the Wallabies to keep the ball in hand.
Tim Horan is down on the touchline.
Well, I'm sitting about 2 metres away from this line out. The Australians shorten their line out. Look for Wendell Sailor inside Steve Larkham or Mortlock early.
Well taken there by Harrison. Australia setting it up in midfield here. Scottish defence swarming up in the centre. Here's Gregan and Larkham. Wendell Sailor. Referee playing advantage for some offside by Scotland. And there's an overlap here for the Wallabies. Scotland covering up pretty well. Gregan. Tackler there was Bruce Douglas.
Well, in that situation with the referee playing advantage, normally you would expect to see George Gregan take a shot for goal, but we've been told that if you take a shot for a field goal in that situation and miss, they're going to consider that the advantage. So George Gregan just muscling it forward.
So first chance for points here to the Wallabies at Suncorp Stadium, and they're going to have a shot for goal. It's Elton Flatley coming up, but here's the offside, and the referee signalling the number 8 was the man. It's 0-0.
We share a dream and sing with one voice. I am, you are, we are Australia.
Elton Flatley, 26-year-old from the Brothers Club. 20 from 26 at the World Cup, 77% success rate. This for first points in the second quarter-final. And he looks very comfortable on home turf. Elton Flatley, first blood for the Wallabies.
Oh, the crowd cheering their hometown hero, Elton Flatley, fly half for the Queensland Reds, playing inside centre in the first time with Mortlock.
Rogers calls for it. Flatley outside. Australia moving it to Mortlock. And that's why he's been called into this Wallaby team. Stretching them out wide. Rogers getting very involved. 10 from halfway.
Great work from Phil Waugh, quick to the breakdown.
Now Larkham calling for it. Hines from behind. Smith without it. Scotland on the counter. Logan. Sailor across with Gregan. And Sailor there first.
Easily covered. Kenny Logan on the left wing there. In picture now, doesn't have great pace. Wendell had no problems at all, but it was Gregan who made the first attempt at cover defence that made Logan kick it. The Wallabies had all the pressure on. It was defence that caused the cough up, and Logan, was hemmed in, just didn't have the pace to go on with it.
Nor did he have the support. So a good start by the Scots, Tim Horan.
Oh, great start by Kenny Logan. Thought he was there. Well covered up in the end by Wendell Sailor coming back. Logan getting on the outside of him. He's come back around and survived.
This is Taylor. This striking number 8 for Scotland. Hines with a pick and drive and taken away by White. Scotland on the boil here. Townsend and Logan again. Elton Flatley in front. Taken away by Mather. But Scotland dominating in the early stages. Stephen Larkham with some initiative. Has pilfered. Young. Cannon goes wide to Gregan. And now Australia has an overlap. Here's Takiri. He's got the fullback in front here. But a great covering tackle. And Scotland come away. General play, no offside. Grimes up towards halfway. Frantic passage of play here. And Redpath in behind.
Great kick by Redpath. Nobody at home. Takiri up in the line. Rogers very flat. And a points decision to Scotland. Shocked early by Australia's win.
Well, it's well done there by Australia, chancing their arm in behind their 22. You see Takiri. Wasn't it a great covering tackle by Paterson coming across? Thought he was out. And Takiri didn't need to throw that pass.
Cannon doing well there and finding Harrison. Gregan as a first receiver. Lyons on the angle, running straight. And now Rogers on his favourite left boot. Plenty of distance on that one, and Australia out of the danger zone.
Matt Rogers outstanding. There's Joe Roff if he does make any errors. A lot of people believing that Roff's best position is at fullback. Hasn't had a go this World Cup. Omitted. May fire him up when he enters the field of play later. The Scots are playing on passion so far, but it's working because they also have some technique.
Well, they're good in the line-outs. Here's Paterson. And this is Taylor again as a focal point in attack. They're inside Australia's half. Redpath called by Paterson. In behind Takiri. Rogers there. Bounce important. And Rogers pretty composed in that last line, but again, good pressure from the Scottish team.
Well, I think we'll see that happen a little bit tonight. Chris Paterson putting the ball in behind the Australian back three, making them turn on Takiri's wing and also in behind Rogers. Make them make a decision, and the Scottish get a throw back in the line-out.
That's Grimes again doing well. Paterson, worked move. Bullock the hooker. 30 metres out from the Wallaby goal line. Scotland with all the ball in the early stages. Henderson grasped. Still 30 metres out.
Man holding on. The guy was on his feet.
Great contest for the ball.
It was okay, but he held on.
Yeah, it was David Lyons made the tackle, and it was actually Nathan Sharp there made the tackle and then reached over and forced the penalty. They were calling at this stage, release, release, release. The referee was right onto it as well. Penalty Australia.
Scotland have given away 3 so far. That count would be worrying. You do that when you're as enthusiastic as they are.
So Steve Walsh working with his touch judges, Paddy O'Brien and Andre Watson. And Rogers taking play almost to the 10-metre line in Scotland's territory.
And now this is where the Wallabies need to start gaining some momentum, build into their structure, get their patterns of play working early.
So Harrison 4, lifting sharp. Pinched by the Scots, just as the Irish did last week. Paterson rifles it over Rogers' head. But Rogers able to use his pace there to retrieve. And Australia pushing back up towards the halfway line, but again a points victory there for the Scots.
Well, Matt Rogers may have been thinking about counter-attacking as we see the Australians lose their own throw to the line-out. And that could prove costly tonight. Australia must win their own ball.
The point was he was out-jumped there by Jason White, the blindside flanker in number 6. They got 5 jumpers, the Scots. This is where they'll rule the game.
Here's Grimes again. Taking the ball up. Scotland coughing it up too. Gregan comes in. Australia lost it. Gregan just losing that one off his boot as he tried to pick it up, but it was again good pressure from the Scots. And this is Hines, the Wagga-born player. 30 metres out. Scotland with over 80% of the territory so far. And they'll get a penalty. And this is certainly a chance for Paterson to equalise. But possession and territory all Scotland's way in the first 12 minutes. So Paterson says yes, we'll have a shot. It's 3-0 to the Wallabies.
Advantage.
Absolute textbook rugby. These guys are the greatest exponents of the rolling ball.
This coverage is brought to you by the 110-kilowatt Nissan Navara. Easily the most powerful in its class.
Scotland believe that they're anything but competitive.
So very handy position here for Chris Paterson, the 25-year-old from Edinburgh. Scotland's Player of the Year in 2002 and 17 points of their 22 in the victory over Fiji last week. Ball's fallen off the tee. Now he'll be told here he's running out of time.
Hurry up, please.
You've just got a minute. Scores a level at Suncorp as Scotland hit back. And certainly just reward for the Scottish, who've applied all the pressure in this opening stanza.
And it hasn't been dull rugby either. They've been taking on the Australians, sending the ball wide at times, posing a few questions to the Wallabies, who need to play field position, especially to squash this threat the Scottish pose.
Scotland's last victory over Australia was here in Brisbane back in 1982. Australia's won the last 10 internationals as Takiri couldn't hold on there.
Guys, it was off gold and then blue, so we're scrumming.
Great toy. You could see what was on. Takiri started jumping early, reaching, and just couldn't reel it in, but it was a great move.
Down we go. No! Gentlemen, don't get keen. Don't get keen. Crouch and hold.
Don't get keen. They lived for this battle in the front row. Just so eager to smash in 900 kilos against 900. Gee, you look forward to that.
You're beating me, Blue.
Gee, that was a split second.
Away. Wait.
So he's penalising Bruce Douglas. It's just a free kick for coming in too early.
Scrum. Goal.
You can't engage till the referee gives you the signal. And you can see there that Bill Young didn't have time to get down.
Well, a good decision by George Gregan to take the scrum.
We're too far apart.
The Scottish defence had gone back and waiting for the Wallabies to go for the quick tap. Now the Australian backs are one-on-one.
Interesting too, Elton Flatley at first receiver, Larkham hanging out for the second phase play.
Good scrum by the Scots, just to wheel Australia towards the touchline. Now Flatley, Gregan on the loop. Larkham and Takiri. And Rogers took his eye off the ball with the line open. And that's been one of his problems. He's been watching the defence, and there a 5-pointer is lost.
Yeah, that's a seizure there. He knew he had to shift the ball on very quickly. What about this? The ball back. Here's Larkham drifting into play there. The inside ball, it was on. There's a man outside Matt Rogers. It's Wendell Saylor, and that's what was on his mind. Great ball from Lottie Takiri.
It was a lovely work move. Lottie Takiri and Rogers just had a look at the defensive player coming across.
Now the chance for Australia to put on pressure. But they turn it over. And it's the angling in of Bill Young. Referee straight onto, and Bill Young can't believe it. And I don't believe that he angles in either. But everyone that plays against him will work him such that it appears that way.
So Scotland taking play to the halfway line, but a huge scoring opportunity there for the Wallabies.
Yeah, that poses some threats to the Scottish defence. Now they've seen the Wallabies go wide. There was an inside ball involved. They start to get a bit twitchy when it happens again.
And Grimes doing well again. This is Paterson. Managed to scoop that one after juggling it. 7 from the halfway line. This is Brian Redpath, the captain and scrum half. Gregor Townsend into first receiver. Saylor read it, but couldn't do much about it.
Oh, well, he could have taken that on the full if he tried.
I agree, Marto. He had some time, but Gregor Townsend, number 13 for Scotland, normally plays number 10 as well, so they have 2 first receivers in the Scottish back line and 2 very good tactical kickers.
Very cheap meters, those were. Can't afford to allow Scotland to keep going forward.
And they Grimes again. Australia lose another line out. Some cause for alarm in the set pieces, but Australia read it well. They've knocked the ball down. And now Smith chasing hard. Logan there first. Here's Smith. And Metcalf in from fullback, wrapped up by Saylor.
Great work by Scotland to regroup.
So clearly, Marto, the Wallabies have gone up a gear.
Well, they have out wide, that's for sure. That was a clever tactic by George Greig and George Smith, beaten by the bounce of the ball. The line out, whether it's caused by David Giffen's late withdrawal, but they are struggling, and that's offering the Scots a chance.
The line out. This is the area crucial. The third jumper is important. They'll go to the go-to man. Smith comes to the front. He's not really a line-out jumping option. And they use him at the front, and it's a struggle. So that's 3 they've lost, and 3 handling errors as well. And they're the things that the Scots are feeding off.
Get in, Mortlock.
Halfway line. Gregan coming through, and George Smith left the scrum. He has to stay bound onto the scrum before the ball comes out.
Oh, he left very early too, Gordon. He thought the ball was out and just came off.
So that's a schoolboy error there from the Aussies. And it puts Scotland in a strong attacking position from this line out.
They've got all the look of Wales about them, Scotland, at the moment. They're winning the line-outs and they're pressuring the Wallabies at places they're not comfortable. And as yet, the Wallabies haven't been able to finish off a couple of promising things that they've started.
Grimes has been absolutely awesome in the line-out so far. That's his 5th win. Australia trying to splinter the driving ball, and they've done it well. Just sheer power and aggression there from the Wallabies. Larkham now. Mortlock, Rogers, and Takiri. Scotland really scrambling here as Lottie stretches. 38 metres out. Nathan Sharp. Was that the right way to go?
He called it well. I think it was.
Here's Cannon. Gregan. Quick hands from the Aussies, really stretching the Scots. Out wide is Lyons, Smith, War, and Saylor. Saylor on all fours, 10 metres out, and now Larkham. Scotland hold on for dear life. Referee playing advantage.
In the side. In the side.
Great continuity by the Wallabies. They got through the phases. Now they're starting to get into their patterns of play. They thought they went the wrong side and they went the same way. But Lotte Takiri, what a run. He did the right thing when he went to ground. He didn't panic. Watch him place the ball back. And there it is on a platter for George Gregan to go left-hand side again with Sharp.
Oh, it shows a determination by the Wallabies to want to go wide. There were some good extra metres picked up by Wendell Saylor there. Larkham did some good work here. And you watch, there's where Gordon Bullock, the hooker, came in from the side, not from the back. Line out, essential.
Must score territory. The Wallabies, first time this close to the line. Now they've got to drive home a little advantage.
And comfortably taken by Harrison. Scots trying to match up here as Australia shape to roll it ahead. And they've done well in defence.
Look for the short side, 2-on-1.
Smith, had he have let it go there, they might have scored with Cannon unmarked outside. Now they can do it through Lyons. And there's a big line out to the left for the Wallabies here. Larkham wants it. Here comes Mortlock. He was hammered. Outstanding defence in midfield from the Scots. But they're going to concede a penalty in front of the post.
The referee was playing 3 advantages that time. Firstly on the side, then across in the middle, and then one of the Scots player hearing him yell out.
He's got to have a yard to red card.
Came in from the angle.
Decision. We had number 6 back being here, a lazy runner. He was played. I played advantage for offside there. Then number 15 came up out of alignment here when they went to spin it wide. Most advantageous right in front of the post, just out here. Okay? Go back. Don't give away silly penalties. Penalty here.
So certainly bordering on offside. Yellow card territory. They won't get another chance, Scotland, if they infringe in that situation. And George Gregan's going for the shot. And it's Australia with a chance to push ahead here in the 22nd minute.
I've been called blind, offered guide dogs, told to visit my optometrist 1,000 times.
So Qantas, thanks for thinking of me.
Elton Flatley, he hasn't missed one in the tournament from this range. It's only 10 metres off centre, and this to put Australia ahead by just the penalty goal worth of 3 points. And the Aussies needed some composure. It's come in the last 5 minutes, and they're rewarded on the scoreboard.
They do look impressive, the Wallabies, when they make the breakout, and there's been no question during the tournament that they can make the break. It's then the continuity that's come into a little bit of question. They must subdue this Scottish line-out. The flow of ball from there is extravagant.
Paterson goes deep to David Lyons. Saylor wants a run, but instead it goes to Larkham. And Rogers, a loose pass. Gee, that was adventurous play, almost coming unstuck for the Aussie team. And now Larkham. And gets the security of touch right on the 10-metre line.
Yeah, it was a loose pass there from Steve Larkham. He knows it, but at least they're asking questions in behind the 22. Ask a question. If it's not on, then find the touch.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is they're going left, from right to left, trying to play to Lottie Takiri's wing. So obviously they've spotted something there, the right winger from Scotland, Daniele.
Take half a metre off the line. At the back.
Thank you. Gordon Bullock. And that was Nathan Hines. Very neat precision work there by the Scottish line-out. Well set up by Paterson. And the big charge takes play to within 35 metres. Tom Smith now. British Lions prop, supported by White. And Hines and Bullock just rolling off each other. Smith goes into scrum half. And just trying to outflank Australia here. And Harrison down on the loose ball. Sloppy finish by the Scots. It's Australia by 6-3.
Again, Matt Rogers doing the work, putting the ball out. It's a little unconvincing. They haven't quite been able to get him fluently into the play, other than when he dropped the ball with the line open. And again, the line out for Scotland. They are having a ball here.
Well taken by Redpath. And it's Henderson offloading to Taylor. Redpath, Paterson. Metcalf from fullback. And Takiri grabbed it, pinched it. He was the thief in the night that time.
Outstanding football from Lottie Takiri in defence.
Well, he just kept his eye on the ball, and then Matt Rogers has done the rest.
Well, that's a better kick from Matt Rogers, and good work from Lottie Takiri. Eye on the ball, and he did very well to stay in too, getting away from a couple of Scottish players, and Gregor Townsend slipping off. And now Australia back into Scottish territory, and they have to defend.
That's White. And Mather looking for support. Taken ahead by Grimes.
Stand here, slow down deliberately. I want you away, and that allowed 10 to come in. I want you away.
So Bill Young is the culprit, off his feet and rolling all over the tackle player.
Gee, it was a tough decision there. Bill Young, natural progression, just falling to the ground. And Stephen Larkham doing instinctively what was supposed to do. Line-outs are the worry. Scots taking their time, making their call on the run.
Well, the Scots, the last two line-outs, they went short. Now they're having a 7-man line-out.
The Wallabies have stopped jumping against them in challenge.
It's your ball. You come close to the line. I want a bigger gap all the way down.
So he wants that metre gap, and you can't close the gap unless you're jumping for the ball, particularly applying to the defensive team. And Mather at the back. George Smith is there. Redpath to Paterson. Just hesitated, but was able to step out of trouble. War trying to pinch it for Australia.
And Bill War, well done.
Here's an overlap again. Mortlock. Daniele across from the right wing to effect that tackle. Flatley saves it for Australia. Cannon with a run here. And going straight into Douglas. Now Lyons. Losing ahead.
Again, the handling errors costing the Wallabies. They've built progressively, concentrating. War, tremendous right over the ball and just like a backhoe, just scooping it back.
That's the trade-off the Wallabies have got. They've got two short scavengers at the back in jersey 6 or 7. Not going well in the line-outs, but around the field they should dominate.
Taylor given a bit of room there by the back row, and George Gregan. Australia couldn't pick it up. No knock on. And Smith, ever alert, was able to just tow that ball back to a teammate. And Rogers now. No real pressure there. And it's another big gain for the Wallabies, taking it into opposition territory.
Good kick, Matt Rogers. He knows that he needs to put it in front of his forward pack. And once again, the Scottish have a line out, 60 metres out from their own line. The Scots have been absorbing the pressure from the Wallabies early on, and the body language from both sides. The Scots are talking it up. They're hitting each other on the backside, saying great tackle, great pass. The Wallabies are quiet.
Bullock now trying to shear this one towards the right. Mather leading the way here. Tom Smith has it. They've made about 7 or 8 metres. Redpath now. That one's gained about 10 metres only. Logan's waiting. He flicked it back. So did Redpath, and this is Hines. Townsend under pressure. He was ringed. Bad mistake by Grimes, who wasn't expecting it.
Scrum, goal ball.
And just a lack of composure there by the Scots.
Almost a ball they didn't want. Scooped it back inside, and then they found they didn't have support centre field. Not very comfortable.
So it's still Australia by 6-3.
Want insurance discounts for over 55s even if you work full-time? Find out how much you could save on insurance for your home. Call GIO now on 13 10 10. GIO, the way insurance should be.
So it's all penalty goals so far. It's been a pretty even contest. And the Scots, though, really standing their ground and turning on a very spirited performance, lifting certainly above anything we've seen from them in the tournament so far.
And you've got to think that down in the Wallaby coaching box there may be consideration to swinging Matt Coburn on earlier than anticipated, because the line-outs and the fact the Australians have only got 2 jumpers is really costing them at this stage.
Well, the Wallaby backline all lined out to the left-hand side of this centre field scrum. No one right-hand side.
Here's Larkham. Mortlock got through the first tackle. Good clean out by Lyons. Wendell Saylor wants it, and he lost it. He lost it in a heavy contact. And now Townsend into open space.
Brilliant.
What about the advantage for Scotland? Boy, oh boy, there was no one out here with Ken Logan chasing down that ball, but he's pulled up Wendell Saylor here.
Two of them, one with a hand in the face, nothing in it.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. Regardless of whether he's playing games and stuff like that, you can't take it into your own hands and throw a punch, okay? Penalty against you, you understand? No more.
Very lucky boy there, Wendell, that he didn't get a yellow card.
Well, he was frustrated. Hitting a lovely tackle by the Scottish forwards. And he was frustrated that he turned the ball over. It was second phase play. And Australia, yet again, have a turnover.
And Greg Martin, what about the advantage for Scotland there?
Well, yeah, he didn't wait long enough, and while he had his back turned, he was worried about that offence, went on with that. But Kenny Logan made a big point, the left wing, and when it got kicked to him, he was on his own, standing guard over the ball, some 50 metres away.
Well won again by White that time. Paterson working to Henderson. The crash ball into Takiri, who came across from the left wing to add some stiffness to that midfield defence. There's White almost to the 22. And some good clean out from the Scottish forwards tonight. They just lack the support at the breakdown, and that's where Australia's been killing them. Another turnover. Flatley's come into first receiver.
Numbers if they move it.
Loose pass from Flatley.
I thought you might have had an overlap coming. Lost scrum.
The referee's reading the game perfectly.
And there was an overlap coming. Elton Flatley decided to go on his own. He had 3 or 4 players, Mortlock and Saylor out wide. Elton Flatley chose to take the direct action.
Isn't that just the difference? Sometimes that ball needs to be moved quickly. Came free. Referee played great advantage here.
We're playing on. Keep the box shut.
So we're not stopping here for Jason White, who's made a huge impact since coming back into their starting lineup.
They stalled nicely there, the Scottish pack, waiting for their blindside flanker to get there. Referee relented and let them do it.
David Lyons given leeway.
Great yardage.
Gregan and Rogers. What an angle!
Yeah, there's runners blocking away. There was obstruction.
Referee was Johnny on the spot. Matt Rogers was away. Fullback to beat. Try time.
He had a massive players in front of him there, Matt Rogers. He used them to his advantage. Oh, this will show it perfectly.
1 goal.
See Bill Young there holding off a Scottish defender.
You can't stop and push backwards, even though you're not seeing the player.
Would have been okay in American football, but a chance for Scotland to draw level.
We share a dream and sing with one voice. I am, you are, we are Australia.
Paterson is 38 metres out. It's well within his range. He's been slotting these attempts consistently during the tournament. And this will make it an all-even ball game. They're happy. 6-6 at Suncorp. 2 penalty goals apiece. Well, the Scots prepared in an ice house in Poland, a glass house in Edinburgh. Some were suggesting they've been in the outhouse in this tournament, but they've certainly stepped out of it tonight.
Yeah, it doesn't care. It doesn't matter now what happened in the pool matches. This is one-off knockout rugby, and the Scots, that's a fair reflection of the way the game's going, 6-all.
Australia have the line breaks. Scotland have the line outs.
Here's Hines. And he's certainly been a revelation for Scotland, the big number 4, since coming into their starting team in the last 2 years. Wallabies trying to snaffle this one. They're trying to clean out Bill Young. And there's a loose pass. Henderson. Oh. Was that a knock-on?
Had to be.
No.
He dropped it all right, but then caught it before it hit the ground, says the referee.
Fortuitous.
Great scrambling. First time put under pressure.
Well, the Wallaby think tank now get together. Terrible pass there. Redpath putting it through, and then, gee, there was a little knock on there by Henderson.
I think he scooped it and caught it again, Timmy.
Which is okay. So good decision there by the eagle eye of Steve Walsh. certainly kept the sides apart in the line-out. And Australia struggling in that area, but they've come up trumps here. And this is their chance to stalk out that goal line. Phil Waugh and Gregan on the loop for Larkham. Sailors out here too. Mortlock tackle without the ball. Penalty.
He's got that call from a touch, Judge, because Steve Walsh didn't spot that. He went the knock forward ruling first. One of the touch judges, have a look, and he's right.
And I wonder if Steve Larkham saw the hole that he was in as he turned it back into Mortlock.
So now, in this topsy-turvy first half, Australia with a chance to again get their noses in front.
They go out wide. Look at him
Go, you good thing.
This coverage is brought to you by the new Nissan Pulsar.
Checking with the line.
Nothing wrong with that.
Still from only 19,990 with air.
Wallaby skipper George Gregan appealing there for a yellow card for a deliberate foul on Mortlock. Wallaby backs were running all sorts of angles and decoys there, and the Scottish defence at 6s and 7s. But now Elton Flatley can put his side back in the lead. So 100% record for Elton Flatley, the Wallaby goal kicker. And the men in gold have it by 3.
Now for the Wallabies, it's so important after you score points to control the play for the next couple of minutes. And the Scottish coaching staff, they'd be pretty happy with the way that their team's performed in the first half so far, but there's still a couple of minutes left for both sides.
David Lyons has been hungry for work tonight. Rogers calls for it. Plenty of chases to put pressure on him. And watching this match down at the Shell Harbour Workers Club is Les McEwen and his famous Bay City Rollers. One of the most famous bands to come out of Scotland, having sold 300 million records. They'd be pleased in between songs watching the Scottish performance tonight.
There'd be a lot of Bay City Rollers fans pleased about what they're seeing at the moment. 9-6 to the Wallabies, but plenty of ball coming Scotland's way.
Henderson takes on Lyons, who crunched him. That's Hughes. Bruce Douglas, I should say. And Tom Smith standing in the tackle. Again, another loose pass, but Townsend linking up with Taylor. Wallaby defence is good. Drop goal attempt. It's a big one. It's a good one. What about that? Paterson levels the scores. Absolutely majestic. 45 metres out.
A hard stopper. Jimmy! What a kick from Paterson. He's 49 metres. It has to be sweet as you like. Stephen Larkham, straight from your textbook.
The same distance.
Unbelievable, and still had about 7 or 8 metres to spare. Could have taken it back behind the halfway. Chris Paterson, 9-all.
Oh, that has stunned the Wallabies. Just before Elton Flatley restarted the game, they gathered around because those sort of things really knock you around.
Well, that kick from Flatley went too far, and the Scots under no pressure to regain that one. And now Paterson, the drop goal hero, getting a nice piece of that ball and taking it to within 9 of halfway.
And to think, while they scratched around and struggled in the first 3 pool matches, they had this man on the wing. Only just swung him onto the fly half last week.
Obviously a good hit in the head is what he needed before the game, because he was poleaxed out here while warming up. Tom Smith got driven by Lottie Takiri. I think his stomach's ended up in the back of his throat. He got hit that hard from behind and feeling it at the moment.
So the score here is locked at 9-all.
That was almost a dose of whiplash there.
It's been a very well-drilled Scottish forward pack who really preferred to play it on their feet at the breakdown. Australia's been doing well at ruck time, but Scotland holding their own in the mauls. Here's Larkham, Flatley, Larkham on the loop. And Rogers had a nasty pass there. He couldn't hold on. It went backwards. Lost ahead by Australia. They spoil themselves again.
They play the lost forward off number 14 goal.
Oh, Wendell Saylor again, number 14 goals. Referee Steve Walsh says Wendell Saylor, another turnover, and the Wallabies can't get into their rhythm. They can't build the phases. They try to go wide again. Decoy runners there with Mortlock and there with George Smith, and Matty Rogers straight through his hands.
Very elaborate move there. Almost over-elaborate from the Wallabies.
Well, it worked. It had the desired effect. Wendell Saylor was on the loose. Matt Rogers putting in a cold one down cold.
So to Keary. And Rogers.
Yeah, he's isolated.
Gregan. Wendell gets his hands on it this time. And now Mortlock. His kick's gone straight into a Scottish defender, Taylor, and Logan, if he could have got his foot to it. Well, he was a former soccer player, but he took his eye off the ball there, Kenny Logan.
Well, Kenny Logan from the Wasp Club in London.
Another charge down by Taylor. He's had a monumental game, that young number 8 for Scotland, in this rampant forward pack. And at half-time, we have a thriller at Suncorp, 9-all.
Don't miss
Is hitting the side here today, and are they on the verge of another major boil-over? Matt Cobain, as has been suggested by Greg Martin and Chris Handy, is on the pitch to address Australia's line-out shortcomings.
24th test as a replacement, Matt Cobain, and don't they need him? But at the cost of George Smith, that changes Phil Waugh's game. Hopefully it changes the Wallabies.
So Flatley and Grimes able to clean up, and now Paterson. Lyons was in touch as he paddled that one in play, but he was in the air. Here's Rogers wanting to redeem himself, and so too Saylor. Mortlock was put in a no-win situation there, 10 from halfway.
Well, they managed to scramble out of that far corner.
And now they're right in the centre of the field. Larkham wanting to get it into opposition territory. Metcalf waiting for it. Comfortably inside his 22. And the touch finder just short of halfway.
Well, it's a better play by Scotland. Australia looking to move the ball wide early. And are the Scots ready for an upset? The last time Scotland beat Australia was back at Ballymore in July 1982.
Isn't this a nicer thing Brendan Cannon's got to look at? 3 targets.
Well read at the back there by Ben Darwin. Larkham again. So Australia is going to take to the air. And Logan, the experienced man, he didn't call the mark, so he's not awarded the mark. You've actually got a call for it. Now Paterson with the dancing feet. Oh, big spiral.
Well, that kick of his, Paterson, looked like the one that felled him prior to the game.
Well, that nearly felled me on the sideline sitting down here. It was about 1 metre away from me, but unbelievable kick from Paterson. He puts Australia back on halfway as Kenny Logan went up, calling to Steve Walsh for the mark, not paid.
Hopefully it inspires you, as it has Chris Paterson.
Tim Horan always wears that helmet, though. Safe.
Big battle at the front there. Harrison not able to pull it down. And then he was there for the crumbs. Gregan. And Larkham. Decoy from Lyons. And Rogers with Saylor. Oh, it wasn't a sympathetic pass from Rogers. Saylor went without it.
I don't think it was the time for Wendell Saylor to come inside. Needed to stay on the outside of Rogers.
2 knocks, first one.
The first one, all right, that was by Wendell Saylor. Rogers had done the hard work here. You've got to take that. He gave the ball air. That is eminently catchable and should have been.
Hey, guys, if you come around, I'll square them up.
They're creating the opportunities, the Wallabies out wide. Haven't nailed one yet.
Only the
Yes, I'll let you come down. No, good.
7 scrums so far that have been decided. A couple of penalties coming from them.
And again, a very good low Scottish front row. Paterson and Henderson just getting over the advantage line. And Australia have managed to slow it down. So we're almost to halfway. And Redpath sees open territory. This is Rogers. Wobbly old kick, but he'll take it.
Smart play there by number 9, Brian Redpath for Scotland, as Scottish skipper, putting the ball downfield in front of his forward pack. He waited till about the 4th or 5th phase. They went same way with the forwards, keeping it tight, and then he puts Australia back under pressure.
So Gordon Bullock, and that's Hines. Bullock charged down by Sharp, and the skipper's there to save the day.
But it was actually knocked on when the tackle came through. They came off the guy's hand.
So knock on against Nathan Sharp is the ruling.
Neither team have been able to put multiple phases together. I think it's only been 4 phases that either team have got to. It's not sufficient. It's not efficient enough.
It went down. Yes, come up, easy. Hey, you get...
The Scots also have a very skilled line-out man in Scott Murray on the bench, who we'll see, no doubt,
Come on, let's go. Everyone's unstable.
later in the second half.
Scots are lined out completely to the far touchline on the left-hand side. Can't go there.
Taylor. Taken by Takiri. Paterson. Henderson. Townsend. Almost through. Larkham held on to him. And War has pinched it. Harrison. Mortlock. Himself. All the way. Sterling Mortlock gets a breakout. And the Wallabies take the lead.
Audacious finish to a great try. It was caused by defence. They put the hammer on the Scots, who did try to go wide. Townsend breached the advantage line well and truly. Phil War, you take a bow. And then Sterling Mortlock, pure strength. Didn't put any evasive skills apart from his brute strength built up over the last year while recovering. There's Phil War. We've only got one scavenger on the field. Flatley set him a line. It was a tough one there, exposed his ribs, but he went on with it, and then it was all about pace.
Well, it was good hands also from Flatley and Justin Harris in the last pass. And Sterling Mortlock, isn't he happy with that reward? The game needed it, and the Wallabies needed it.
He is pumped, Sterling Mortlock.
So, Australia by 16-9.
With Telstra Home Messages 101,
Don't you just hate interruptions during the rugby?
Don't like interruptions? Turn on Home Messages 101, only with Telstra.
Right after the reconstruction.
Well, that's a very good way to dislocate your shoulder.
Well, he's definitely
that would have been
tested it there.
embarrassing. Saylor now. The Wallabies suddenly with a head of steam. And they busted them out wide with the power and pace of Sterling Mortlock. And a guided kick by Larkham, slewing off the side.
The best thing that try showed was where Phil Walker helped with the turnover. In the first half, I was worried the dynamic of the game would be changed by the fact that George Smith is off the field, Matt Cobain on to fix our line-out problems, because Scotland turned over 6 balls at the ruck and maul in the first half. Australia only 1, but it looks like that trend is going to continue. Phil Ward will soldier on.
Tim Horan a change here for the Scots.
Well, Ben Hinchelwood coming on, Glenn Metcalf coming off. Hinchelwood a very fine counter-attacker, and I'm sure he'll be looking to get involved in in the first couple of minutes of being on the field. And the Scottish side are lined out in their back line. Gregor Townsend calling plays.
Metcalf was hooked there. He's the man who missed the tackle on Sterling Mortlock.
And it looks as though Kenny Logan has gone to fullback. Or is it Hinshelwood? We'll have to wait and see. So the Scots now coming back, but driven back. And Australia forcing the turnover. Rogers. Off he goes. Just outside the 22. Gregan quickly for Larkham. Really measured that one from inside his 22. The forwards enjoyed it.
Always pleasing to see when the forwards don't have to look back. Stephen Larkham, lovely kick. Not renowned for his kicking, but once again a turnover from the Wallabies. Sailor in there.
Build some phases from here. They've got to put pressure on the Scottish ball. They've been able to protect everything they've got. Now they're forced, I think, Scotland to try and do something with it.
So Redpath to Mather. And Paterson. Larkham with just sheer desperation. Logan is there.
Great first up tackle from Gregan. It was right on him as soon as he got the ball.
Gregor Townsend back supporting Paterson here. And a safe touch finder, but Australia now starting to mount the pressure.
Well, it's important in the next 5 minutes. The game's there for either side. The pressure, Stephen Larkham leaving his feet. The most important thing in a charge down is to dive at the feet. And Australia now on attack, 30 metres out.
Oh,
that's Scottish line.
That's not a good thing. Brendan Cannon mouthing the words, what's the call?
Matt Cobain was the money man. Flatley's collared. It was a loose pass, but Takiri got it on the bounce. And it was Rogers who came through and drove ahead. Now Gregan. He's solidly met by Mather.
Monstered by Mather.
Darwin with a big dive pass. Not his best. And now Cannon. And he's taken by Douglas. War to Larkham. Drop goals on. What about this one? Oh, the crossbar. Hit the crossbar. And the Scots don't take advantage. They should have got the touch there. Here's Rogers. Bit of a high shot from Hinshelwood. The referee saw it. Could be a penalty. Australia playing on, and Sharp. Nathan Sharp with Flatley. Flatley caught from behind. 15 metres out. Sailor wants it. Australia looking for its second try here. The Scots very slow to get back, but they've been able to stymie Australia's continuity. Now Gregan still playing advantage. Still a penalty here for the Wallabies.
Back here.
Referee will have to talk to Scotland. A couple of times similar situation in the first half. They continued to slow it down when under pressure.
Just have a chat to him on the way past, Dave. What do you want to do? Posts.
Well, he's got to take a shot from that range. Australia ahead, 16-9.
Kids away. Champagne on ice. See you soon. Thank you, Qantas.
Steve Walsh and George Gregan talking. George Gregan saying, hey, I don't want to play like this. Steve Walsh not pulling a yellow card out.
See, there's also movement on the Wallaby bench. Young Matt Giddo warming up. Interesting to see who he replaces if he comes on.
Have a punt, Timmy. Where do you think you slot Matt Giddo with his pace and elusiveness?
Well, maybe Stephen Larkham's starting to put players through holes now, so it'll be a big call to take Stephen Larkham off.
Flatley's the kicker.
And he's looking for a 10-point advantage for his team. Another precision attempt by Flatley. And Australia has a 10-point cushion. 15 points for the Australian number 12.
I'll tell you what, Steve Walsh is still talking to the Scots. It will, if that happens again, and the Australians were definitely in a try-scoring position there. Have a look at that drop goal attempt by Larkham. Crossbar upright.
He hasn't got many. And he didn't get that one there, but they scored in the end.
Touched ahead by Scotland.
He came off a blue hand, fellas. Scrum, gold. Scrum here. Come back.
Yeah, if the Scots are to perpetrate that slowdown of the ball again, there will be one of them going to the bin.
Scrum. Time to put a stamp on it for the Wallabies.
They're queuing up out here. Sailor. Well taken by Henderson, who managed to hold on. Assisted there by Paterson, who hurt himself in the tackle.
Whoa! That came forward off the halfback delivery. Scrum. Blue ball.
But you can see the Wallabies, they're trying to go wide, trying to move the ball out to the spaces. Wendell Sailor had two players outside him on the left-hand side. And George Gregan just losing the ball in the delivery. And Matt Giddo coming to the sideline now. We've just got off the bat phone.
Australia 19, Scotland 9.
There's a lot of grunt in this scrum. You know,
Engaged.
Oh, that's a very nice clean feed. They're putting the weight in.
This coverage is brought to you by the 185 kilowatt Nissan Patrol, the most powerful patrol ever.
Big call by Eddie Jones. In the 54th minute, Stephen Larkham, the Australian playmaker, departs, and Matt Gitto, the exciting newcomer, is on at fly half.
Well, Matt Giddo, the game is made for him now. Some tired Scottish forwards around the park.
Up we come.
Step up the pace, step up the pep from fly half. Larkham did nothing wrong, but Giddo adds a new dimension.
It may be an indication that Eddie Jones wants Giddo to take the ball to the line a bit more. I think they've been doing it from long distance.
Australia scrum edging the Scots into a retreat. His Redpath. Phil Waugh over the top. Now Hines. Huge tackle from Sharp. Grimes takes it ahead. Australia lost it ahead too. Forward pass.
Forward pass. Forward pass.
Correct decision. There was an earlier one that was borderline. Steve Walsh wasn't going to let him get away with the second one.
Hands went forward, ball went forward. Referee said, bring it back. Getting closer, Australia, to time in the opposition territory, but they've got to punch out from here.
Flatley anticipated superbly there, charging onto the ball.
We're on.
Rogers goes for the kick. Certainly Takiri was on for a run.
Yeah, he was looking for a run, but Matt Rogers got the call from outside to put it downfield. He's made a good 40 or 50 metres, but Takiri, he wants to get his hands on the ball. And Eddie Jones, is he thinking any more replacements at this stage of the game?
Australia by 10 as we come towards the end of the third quarter here at Suncorp. Second quarter final. Winner of this game to meet the All Blacks in a semi-final at Telstra in Sydney.
That's great work by the Wallabies. Didn't challenge the ball in the air, but they decided to challenge the rolling ball.
3 out. Out, 3 out. You were good.
Ben Darwin, the man penalised. White getting his 5th line out for Scotland. And some badly needed respite there for the Scots. Australia really has dominated this second half.
Again, the Scottish line-out has been supreme. They have had options. They've had concise throws. and used the ball well.
And they've had 3 of Australia's line-out throws go to their side.
Taken away by Gitto. The Scots just watched the ball there. There's been a head clash. A player from either side. Grimes down, and one of the Australians still.
Nathan Sharp it is, but Matt Coburn take a bow. I think it was his hand that deflected the ball to the Australian side. Finally, they got one back.
I think he's copped a good one right in the middle. He's taking a bit of a respite.
And Bill Young also having attention. Looks like a battlefield at the moment. 19-9.
The French go wide. Try. He wants to have another look. This could win the test match.
No try. Tough.
GIO, official partner, Rugby World Cup 2003.
Sharp is up and okay after being winded.
What a difference that replacement of Matt Coburn made. 3 jumpers in the line-out now for Australia has turned the game their way.
Taken by Hines. Nathan Sharp, number 5 there.
Get your hand off it. I'm just asking this man here. One of these 2 guys that
Brendan Cannon.
Away. Hold on. Someone holding it on in there. What you penalised for?
Not rolling off the tackled player. Paterson doesn't really get the territory he wanted with his touch finder, but the
Maybe
ball slowed down.
Maybe he should drop kick it. He seems to get the distance with that. The battered face of Gordon Bullock throwing in.
Redpath lost it. Here's War. 15 metres out. But it was Redpath's lack of height there that brought him unstuck. Flatley, Sailor, just caught. Rogers now, and Takiri for the corner. He's beaten 7 players here. He's hungry. Gitto on the right. Gregan taps ahead. George Gregan. Opportunism there from the Australian skipper. Second try.
A bit of wizardry from Lottie Takiri. Put the ball in a position that had the Scots under pressure. George Gregan, what a time for the captain to stand up and poke one through under the post. The line out was lost and War was brilliant. He carried it as far as he could and got great support. The width the Wallabies were looking for came. Takiri didn't feel as though he could finish it. Great ball from Matt Rogers. Thought he'd get run down, and look at him. He's run past 11 of the Scottish players and sets up right under the sticks. Gregan saw the opportunity, towed it off the ground, and he's over.
Conversion was successful.
Moving on the touchline again for the Wallabies. Number 22, Joe Roth looking to come on.
Well, Wendell Sailor also did well in that last foray, able to maintain continuity.
Matt Rogers off.
And Joe Roth.
Well, Joe Roth very rarely has sat on the bench for the Wallabies. Good game from Matt Rogers, dropped a few early balls. But Joe Roth gets to play in his favourite position of number 15 for the Wallabies.
And his best position too.
Sharp couldn't hold on. Players have to roll away here for Scotland. Hines. But that's certainly taken the stuffing out of this Scottish side. Sailor harasses. And Cannon now. And here comes Roth on the outside. Referee says play on. Sharp lost a head.
Sharp claiming he was held.
This man here, that's forward.
Lost the ball forward. Roth was steaming on the outside, but fair cop. The Scottish player thought that that ball would stick and follow through with the tackle.
Yeah, you watch. He was actually competing for possession here. He had it. Yes, you can tackle him in that situation.
It's an amazing how some points, and they get away from the Scotland side. The tempo's lift. The game has lifted. The Wallabies have lifted.
Well, they've just gone straight for the jugular in that third quarter and taken control of the match. Scotland down by 26-9 after we were 9-all at the break. Wallabies looking more sharp and more enthusiastic since half-time. Paterson's kick is a wobbler.
Oh, well done. Phil Waugh, he was the one put the pressure on the left boot of Paterson. Caused the error.
He's had a red-hot go tonight, Phil Waugh. A little quieter against Ireland, but when the going gets tough, Phil Waugh steps up.
Jeremy Paul for the Wallabies coming on. And he'll replace Brendan Cannon,
who's had a beauty. Cannon has been in everything. He's pressured, scrum well, and comes off still enthusiastic.
You've got to say too that Eddie Jones has worked his bench a treat here tonight. He made some big calls.
That is a good call, Gordon, to suggest that, because that substitution of Matt Coburn at half-time, that has changed the tempo of the game.
And there we see the line-out specialist, number 18, Scott Murray, come on for Scotland. He'll be very crucial in the last 18 minutes.
Come back on.
So Stuart Grimes is off, and he certainly held up his end. Taken away by Taylor.
Well, the Wallabies give up one line out as soon as Murray comes on.
Mather wasn't expecting it. He didn't want that pass from the skipper. Now Redpath has to clean up.
Lost. Scrum, gold.
Here's trouble. Almost the perfect position to go to the right side. Perfect number of metres to the right. With Joe Roth in combination with Gitto and Gregan, you've got to think there's something cooked up.
Well, this could be Brian Redpath's last test match, the captain. And he's just made a couple of little handling errors that have hurt his side.
Steady here.
Controlled by Lyons at the back. Here's Joe Roth. And Mortlock, who broke it wide open in the second half with that powerhouse try out wide. Now Gregan. Roth calls for it. And he's within 7 metres of the goal line here. Scotland slowing it down.
Scotland forward, get out of it.
5 times now.
I want Scotland out of there. Away.
Well, the injection of Joe Roth. He looks sharp coming off the bench.
Referee speaking to Brian Redpath here.
Scotland players are lying there when you're on the defensive side. If you continue to do it, you're going to force me to go here. Okay? It's very close now.
Good strength there by Joe Roth, getting across the advantage line. That's when the Wallabies wanted quick ball.
Captain Gold. I'll just ask him, mate. Yeah. What do you want to do? Okay.
Bill Young has said to George, I'd love to go to the scrum. This is huge.
Good on you, the Wallabies. They've been copping some criticism during the week.
Well, 4 try bonus points are no good at the knockout stage of the tournament.
They're having a little go, and they need that lift.
Well, the Wallaby backline need to keep their depth. The Scottish side will come up in an umbrella defensive pattern. The Wallabies need to keep their depth and be patient.
Well, it won't want to pop out this side because there's not one Australian back defending this side of the post.
Australia by 17 here at Suncorp. Lions
falling over. Look at Steve Walsh.
And Walsh is awarded it. He was down, flat on his tummy, his nose on the turf, and he sniffed it out.
An outstanding refereeing decision. Steve Walsh is having a blinder. It was as if he were Wallaby Bob McMaster refereeing a WWF match. Down on the thing, going 1, 2, 3, and he awarded the try.
Well, the Wallaby backline standing very wide. It makes Chris Paterson, the number 10, stand a little bit wider, and David Lyons at the back of the scrum.
Phil Waugh, vital, that drive there. Have a look at Walsh, you might just pick him up now.
Kick successful. 33-9.
Matt Cobain and Phil.
"20 nations, 48 games, 1 beer. Heineken."
So the real Wallabies have stood up in this second half after an indifferent first 40 minutes. Darwin's departed. Al Baxter is on. And for Scotland, John Petrie is taking the field. And Jason White departs. So Ben Darwin has certainly come a long way since the Beecroft under-9s. His lines. Gitto, Roth, Mortlock, and Takiri's with him. Good work by Flatley. He picked up that inside ball. Jeremy Paul. Wrapped up by Petrie. George Gregan's been very busy. And isolated man, not releasing.
Well, Matt Gitto uses a battering ram there. Wasn't expecting the ball off George Gregan. Penalty, holding on to the ball.
George Gregan forced to come back to short side though, Tim. There was no support out wide, so he came to short and almost ran into Gitto. So Scotland with a chance.
Yeah, referee said it clearly. Number 7, Cameron Mather, was there, trying to get his hands on the ball, on his feet. Wouldn't. It looks like Chris Whittaker on for George Gregan here shortly. The first real chance the Scots have had to score in the second half.
And a big cheer for Chris Whittaker.
And for George Gregan. He's had a great game tonight. Passed, run, tackled well. A good captain's knock.
So it's just a goal line ahead for Scotland. Can they register their first 5-pointer? The Australian defence has been very powerful tonight.
Cobain went in hard and drove that ball back.
Australia offside. Here's Hines. Paterson.
War again to a man.
Mather takes it ahead. Bullock is there. And so are 3 Australians, including Harrison. Referee still playing advantage. Red path.
Superb defence from the Wallaby. They're going at it.
Well, this has been a comprehensive performance.
Oh, if you're a fan of sumo, this is wonderful stuff.
7 phases there for Scotland. They went nowhere.
They'll force them to think again. They'll have to go for the scrum now, and they will. No way they'll kick for goal. They could go for the line out if they trust that ball a bit better.
Well, they've got the line out to cause problems here 5 metres out.
Well, the Wallabies were tested in defence there, and they dug deep. Coming off either side of the ruck and maul, putting the Scots on the back foot. John Muggle, the Australian defensive coach, has done a lot of work with them this week.
So true, Tim Horan. That's a matter of pride, and the Wallabies held theirs intact on that occasion. And here we go again. You can't possibly think the Wallabies will jump. They'll just get ready to defend what's going to be a long, protracted rolling maul.
And I heard the word nude out there. Do not let them score against you. Keep them nude.
Well, Bullock now has the ball at the back. They're back to where they started, at the line of touch, almost. But Australia steadfast. Paterson, Townsend and Paterson on the loop. Well read by Flatley and Takiri. There's 4 Aussie players out there to 2 from Scotland. Here's Hines. Flicked it back beautifully to Redpath. That's Henderson. Logan's joined in. Great hands from Paterson. Almost, and Townsend. He kicked ahead.
The pass was forward as well.
That is magnificent defence, and that's the best feature of the game so far, the way the Wallabies have stood up in defence. That's what caused the error in the end.
Well, Paterson taking it to the line. Ball back inside of Gregor Townsend. Steve Walsh, good position. Called the pass forward, but once again, outstanding defence from the Wallabies.
Time and possession almost equal. The Wallabies have used their possession better. Al Baxter on camera. Young Tyro relishing this chance in the front row as his opposite comes on in Gordell McElwain.
So Bruce Douglas, the 23-year-old from the Borders, is off, and 33-year-old Gordon McElwain, number 17.
Easy to pick. He's the ball one on the tight head. That's this near side in the blue jersey.
Come on. Hey. Come on. Crouch and hold.
This is victory number 11 in a row against the Scots. And the Australians have also set a new record of 11 consecutive World Cup victories. Gitto.
Super kick.
He's got a big boot, and that one almost to halfway.
Well, Matt Gitto on that occasion had to opt to put the play down at the other end of the field, but I'm sure that in the next 10 minutes of play, he'd love to get his hands on the ball and look out for the tired runners, the tired defenders of the Scottish side, the front rowers. He'll be looking to run either side of the front rowers and look for hole runners.
Scott Murray wants some action here in the line-out. And he gets it. Just got a hand on it. Henderson has just been the crash ball man tonight. That's Taylor, and War is there. Smith, the try-scoring hero against Fiji last week. And Hines has lost it.
McElwain, the new player, put the ball down. Counter-attack.
Roth. Out wide is Takiri. Hinshelwood ahead. Man underneath. Hinshelwood over the top. War towing ahead now for Redpath. The Scots have something on here. Hines, who initially threw that pass that saw the turnover. And here's Townsend out wide.
Wonderfully weighted kick.
Daniele, number 14.
Super work in defence by Saylor. Covered the man, covered the ball, and won it back for the Wallabies.
Australia still have it.
Well,
and
we thought
there is no... Sorry, Tim.
Well, we thought early on in the game that the Scottish side will put ball in behind Australia's 2 wingers, Takiri and Saylor. But Saylor didn't he do well then. Got down, slid on the ball, and then Joe Roth came in to help.
Yeah, that'll shut a few people up who say, put the ball behind Wendell, it's a sure thing to get it back. That's ball security, and that's what they're looking for, the Australian selectors from Wendell Saylor, and then got up and made some metres.
Inside the last 10 minutes. Australia by 33 to 9. And the problems continue for the scrum half. Untidy ball there from the line-out. Paterson again. Kick and hope. Roth under no pressure here. Some pretty tired Scottish players. Roth sizing up.
Yeah, fairly scatty play. It's a repeat of some of the kicking from last week from Joe Roff. He wouldn't be happy.
Oh, I think Joe Roff, his first thought was to tap and go and counter-attack. He had Takiri on his left-hand side. Perhaps he should have taken that option. He's looked pretty sharp, Joe Roff, since coming on. There's the Scottish Ian McGeechan. Probably his last chance, last test match, being in charge of his nation. He's done a marvellous job. I've been lucky enough to be coached by him over a couple of years when he had a selection side, and he's a lovely guy, and I'm sure that everyone wishes him well.
Here's Mortlock. Got away from Townsend. Just trying to scruff the player too high there. Scotland out wide.
Sharp's having a huge game tonight. They've really stepped up the locks for the Wallabies.
And David Lyons has been effervescent. Flatley. Caught by Mather. Here's Giteau. Great stepping from the little man. Looked to be taken a little high there by Murray. And that's Paul.
Well, Matt Giteau lying on the ground in agony behind.
Lost by David Lyons, who took his eye off the ball.
That doesn't look good, Matt Giteau.
We're stopping.
He got felled when he ducked back through, but it looks like it's a leg injury.
Watch his knee or his ankle.
Ankle.
So he twisted very nastily there. Doesn't look good. Over 45,000 fans here, and it's 33-9.
Hey, Bert, you want to forward your calls while you're out?
Yeah, just dial 1#. Let my home phone know where to find me.
Yeah, no problems, mate.
1#, only with Telstra.
Agony written all over the face of Matt Giteau, who was taken high. And how bad is this twist?
He'll have to leave the field. You could see the twist. Probably the medial ligament just on the inner part of the thigh and the knee.
It's good that he's walking himself, though, and starting to hobble. I don't know that it's one they're trying to stay on with. It'll let him down, I think.
There's only one reserve left on the bench. I'll be interested to see how Dan Vickerman goes at fly half for Australia.
I'll move Flatley in. Probably. Oh, interesting option.
Well, Giteau's match is over. There's no doubt about that.
He's foolish to play on with him.
David Lyons in the centres, perhaps, if they brought Vickerman on.
Either replace them or play with 14.
No, we won't play with 14, I think they said out there. Dan Vickerman coming to the line. Eddie Jones looking concerned, as well he may.
Well, it's a big blow for the Wallabies, especially next week against the All Blacks. Matt Giteau wasn't on there for long, and he'd be very disappointed to come off at this stage of the game.
This is their go-to man in a number of positions. Half-back, fly half, and centre.
David Lyons. Well, we've seen Lottie Takiri play at flanker for Australia in this tournament. Now we got David Lyons at fly half.
So Taylor. Henderson takes it ahead, and he was crutched. He'll be a little groggy after that. But look at the vigour of the Australian defence. Short steps, low body height. Scotland really struggling to make headway. Now they can. Flick back by Mather, but straight to an Australian. Baxter was there, and Cobain, and Paul. Paterson was the tackler. Lyons, our new fly half. Flatley wants it. Almost intercepted by Daniele, and that saved a certain Australian try.
Well, the Scottish outside backs have been doing it all night. Daniele coming up in an umbrella fashion, coming out from the open first. Australia looking to break away. Jeremy Paul just didn't have the pace, did he?
Pushing the pass, I think, at the last bit. Flatley probably didn't need to push it. And the ice goes on, and Matt Giteau is not happy.
You know, as a player, how bad injuries are. Doesn't look good. Quick tap, Phil Waugh.
Number 7.
Take it from the right spot.
The market's back here. Number 1 pushing through and around.
Cribbing 5 metres infield there with that quick tap.
He's had a good game tonight, Steve Walsh. He's communicated very well to the players.
I want you off because you've had 3 times to get it fixed now. You go as well, please. Les, please.
Well, we mentioned George Gregan had a great game tonight. Phil Waugh is now leaving for blood bin attention, and he has just been everywhere.
I don't know where the blood's coming from everywhere. Down his eye, down his forehead, out of his nose.
It's not too bad, but the referee wants it cleaned up.
Brendan Cannon will have to go back on.
Also for Scotland, James McLaren coming on for Gregor Townsend. Played his 82nd Test match tonight, Gregor Townsend.
Scotland's most capped player of all time. Brendan Cannon coming back out. We've exhausted the Australian bench.
Now, Brendan Cannon's been replaced, but he can then come back on if there's none others and in a blood bin situation.
Interesting footnote, of course, with Rob Russell on there as the replacement hooker for Scotland. There are now 3 former Brisbane hookers on the field. Rob Russell, Brendan Cannon and Jeremy Paul. Doesn't happen often in Test rugby.
2 of them played for the same club, I think, as well. Souths.
What is Brisbane on the nose, is it?
It's hometown. They're stepping up.
Hometown of hookers.
Here's Flatley and Lyons. He's been a pile driver tonight. Flatley again. Saylor getting in the action.
Oh, there was nothing on there. He's turned it into a 20-metre run.
That's the way to do it, Wendell. Sharp.
He's going to have to hurdle the maul if he goes that way.
Now Joe Roff into first receiver. Lyons again. Gee, he's covered some metres tonight.
Flatley down, either injured or with cramp.
Takiri linking up with Roff, and Takiri looping round. Scotland cover up. Just outside the 22, 4 minutes to go, and Australia in cruise control at 33-9.
How are they going to use this? They've got a lock at first receiver, and they let it bounce.
Mortlock, well collared there by Paterson. The Scots have it.
Both hitting on the ground. Australia ball. Both players, you and them, are trying to get your hands out.
7 phases there for the Australians. Now, what happened there? It was a stalemate. Both players were handling it on the ground. Australia had possession. They were driving forward. So the scrum feed goes to the Wallaby team.
That ball did not pop out by way of foot. There was definitely a hand there.
Prince Harry is at the ground tonight. Not the result he was hoping for, but a very brave Scotland side taking the game to the Australians in the first half, and the Wallabies responding in very stylish fashion in this second term.
It's a bit of a mess at the moment.
In the end, the Scots just haven't had the game breakers that they needed with the quantity of possession that they had. They certainly lived up to their mark at the start of the game, the Scots.
Takiri couldn't hold on. Referee was happy it was lost backwards. Australia still in possession. Nathan Sharp. 2 Wagga Wagga opposing locks out there in Hines and Sharp. Quick hands from Scotland, but they're all front rowers out here. Not this man, Daniele. Mortlock across, and Roff in the last line. So just a brief moment of joy there for Scotland. All too brief in the match, though.
And Daniele has got some pace. And once it got past the front rowers, Daniele backed himself and then put the chip ahead, and Joe Roff takes his time. But Scotland still on attack 7 metres out.
That ball was wobbling awkwardly. Some might have thought Joe Roff should have let it bounce into the in goal and force it, but you never take that chance. Sign of a good fullback.
Taken by Scott Murray.
Well organised, this driving ball, with good response from the Wallabies.
Essential for next week's psychology for the Wallabies to keep them trialless here now. This will help them no end if they know they can defend their try line with confidence.
Kenny Logan wants it out wide. Odds are he won't get it. Hines! Just centimetres short, red part. Tom Smith is their number 1. He scored a try in this situation last week at Aussie Stadium. That's Maida. McElwham going into support. Scotland still have it in control here.
Can they keep them nude?
Cobain coming in on the side as well.
Again, probably go to the line out.
Tom Smith kicking for touch.
Well, with less than a minute to go, the Scottish have put up a very good fight tonight, 9-all at half-time. They've just let things slip in the second half, but hasn't it been great to see them put the pressure on the Wallabies tonight? But then the Wallabies have responded and come back with a couple of unanswered tries.
Well, they were Scotland, the faint heart earlier, but it's certainly been the brave hearts that turned up tonight. Earlier in the tournament, that is. Murray again. Well, that actually was Hines. Can Scotland finish with one last hurrah? Referee's happy. Mather was there.
Is it Robbie Russell, the hometown boy from
What a
Charles
moment.
Towers? Great moment, Robbie Russell. And wouldn't he be happy? His parents would be down from outside of Charters Towers on the cattle station. He's come on as replacement and scored his try.
But disappointment as well that it isn't the winning one. They pressured for a long time. Referee Steve Walsh again, right on the spot.
Brisbane born, made his debut back in '99, made the decision, kept on getting overlooked. Now plays his rugby over at Saracens. Timmy, you do know him. I think you're having a yarn to him. He'd be extremely pleased with that.
Very pleased, Robbie Russell, and he's worked very hard. He's had a very serious neck operation about 5 months ago, and also a back operation a year before that. The doctor told him he'd never play rugby again, and he's fought his way back on this Scottish side.
Well, a fitting end to the game in recognition of Scotland's performance tonight. And Paterson adds that little bit extra. 33-16 the final score. Gregor Townsend then probably in his last international. Ian McGeek in the coach, certainly his last. But the Scots came out and gave it everything. But it just wasn't enough as Australia went up several notches straight after half-time. Final score, 33-16.
An ancient document like no other the world has ever seen. It predicted World War I. It predicted Hiroshima. And it's predicted one more event. 48 hours from now. This is the one episode of Alias you've got to see.
Base camp, waiting on your signal.
Strap yourself in. Hold on tight. Finally, you're about to discover the shocking truth.
I've opened the box.
An unmissable Alias 7 Monday.
With Telstra Home Messages 101, you...
Don't you just hate interruptions during the rugby?
Don't like interruptions? Turn on Home Messages 101, only with Telstra.
Where you going, you're not coming back from.
Guess what's in a biscuit?
You can record times like this on your phone. You can save time shopping online from your fridge. You can work from home on your notebook. So you can sit back and enjoy life. LG, life's good.
Slick, but no every trick now. You know I want it so bad. You know I need it, I can't believe it. So come on, baby, please relieve it. Got to give it to me. You got to give it to me.
Try time.
And War has pinched it. Paterson, Mortlock, himself, all the way. Sterling Mortlock gets a breakout. And the Wallabies take the lead.
What a celebration by Mortlock. Australia 33-16 over Scotland. Mortlock, Gregan and Lyons. Robbie Russell getting the try for Scotland right at the end. So it's a dream semi-final with Australia to play New Zealand on Saturday night in Sydney. So one half of the semi-finals have been sorted out. We're still at Telstra Dome when New Zealand beats South Africa tonight. I'm with Dan Crowley and Stu Wilson. John Eales is at Suncorp, where he's just seen the Wallabies qualify for the semi-final. John, the second half, a lot better than the first.
Yeah, it was a lot better, Bruce. Yeah, there was a real tightening up of a few areas of the game. Significantly, Matt Cobain came on in the line-out. That made a big difference to our performance and will really make Eddie question, what selections he might employ next week.
Well, the Mortlock try really eased things a bit for Australia. It took some of the tension off. And Phil Waugh, who's had such a great game, had a lot to do with this.
Well, he's snatched the ball, he's been the scavenger, he's had a great game, but then the power and the speed of Mortlock to be able to bust those tackles, and you can see his face there because he's had a lot of pressure on him getting into this game. He's, yeah, fantastic work, I've done the work and I've scored the try.
So Australia pressing forward all the time here, and they really got a sense that they were getting on top of the Scots, who seemed to be tiring.
Well, they just needed to move the ball wide and use the width of the field, which they did here. Wendell came in from the right wing. It was, I mean, there's not a lot of rhythm there in the back line. But then Lottie says, OK, I'll head in field going via Sydney at this stage. And he has a good run to the goal line. And the try here, a kick through. And Captain George does the damage. So, I mean, it still wasn't a clinical display by the world champions, all right? Let's be honest about that. You know, there was penalties in the first half. We've got 4 tries in the second half. It was a better performance by Australia, but, man, they've got a few problems.
Do you think some of the pressure's off Gregan now with that try and his performance, John?
I think, look, I think in Eddie's mind, Gregan is the man. And, like, really, there's not a lot of pressure on him for the rest of this tournament because he is the guy that is going to be there in Eddie's mind. But certainly that second half will relieve a bit of pressure off the Wallabies. The first half looked really distracted. We just couldn't get things going. Rogers was dropping balls. The backs weren't getting it going. The forwards weren't winning lineouts. But that was all fixed at half-time. Once the remedy came through, whatever it was that made it work, it worked. And that will give the guys a lot of confidence.
Well, Bruce, Australia had only conceded 32 points in 4 pool games, so their defence has been very, very good. It was good here in the second half when Scotland, to their credit, put phases together. But, the gold jerseys just kept smashing them down, going the short side of the little week with the skipper of the halfback. There was just no gaps there. They would be disappointed they let that try in for Robbie Russell, because it would have been nice to have a clean slate in that second half, Dan, with no points against them.
Definitely.
Yeah, a good effort there. John, Cobain came on and the lineouts improved. I mean, what does this mean for the semi-final in the way Eddie Jones structures this team?
Well, it's interesting because the All Blacks had a really good performance tonight in the lineouts. Their best performance of the year in the lineouts really against South Africa, and Cobain came on for the Wallabies. He made a difference. It gave us an extra genuine option. In defence, it didn't change a lot because he was actually a lifter, not a attacking force in defence. So it didn't change our patterns a lot there. But in attack, having that extra genuine option makes a huge difference. It takes the pressure off Cannon. It takes the pressure off the guy calling the line-outs. And I think Justin Harrison did a pretty good job in that regard tonight, particularly when you consider just coming into the game yesterday or this morning even, basically after Giffen was injured.
So much to ponder as they look towards the semi-final. Here's what George Gregan, the Australian captain, said after the match.
Wallaby captain George Gregan, how did you see that match? Were you happy with that performance?
Well, mate, we're in the semi-finals, so you've got to be happy with that. And it was a tough game. You know, they came out exactly how we expected. We were a little bit ill-disciplined in the first half, turned over a little bit of ball, but we started that second half really well. And, you know, we went on from it, and that was good.
Yeah, the first 40 minutes, they really came at you at 9-all half-time. Were you worried going in the shed, or you knew you had your patterns of play?
Well, we just didn't have much possession at that stage. We hadn't put many phases on them. We hadn't asked many questions of them defensively, so we realised their opportunities. It was just a matter of being disciplined, being patient, and they would come, and that did occur. The try against the run of play with Sterlo, which was great.
Well, fantastic for the Wallabies. Semi-final next week against the All Blacks.
Yeah, I guess it's a match both teams probably knew at some stage we're going to meet. We haven't been talking about it, but it's on, and we can't wait to be back home in Sydney playing against the Blacks. They're always great games, and you know, massive prize at the end of this.
The injury to Matt Giddo, is that a concern towards the end of the match?
It's just a matter of how he recovers. He's pretty young. I think he'll respond pretty well to treatment. And I think it's just ankle. He just went over on his ankle, so he seems pretty positive, and I'm sure there'll be some pretty intensive physio done on him over the next week or so, mate.
Thanks, George. Great. Good luck next week.
Thanks, mate.
Smiling and happy. John, the Giddo's injury obviously will have an effect on the way we line up next week against the All Blacks. And what about their Bledisloe Cup? Not all that long ago when they ran in 50 points. The mind games will begin right now.
Yeah, they will. But that match in Auckland a few weeks after that will be where the Wallabies take their heart from. And the thing that gives the Wallabies a great chance in this semi-final, we've said it before, is the fact that they believe in themselves. They honestly believe that they can beat the All Blacks. It's going to be tough. It's going to take a bit of luck. It's going to take a great effort on the day. But they believe they can do it. And while they believe, they can.
John, catch you next weekend, as we will with you, Dan and Stu. Do you believe, Dan?
I think they can, but I think the hard decisions are up to Eddie Jones at the moment. There's a few people, he's still got a bit of tinkering to do with his back line especially.
Just like to remind John Eales that game in Auckland, you did lose that one too.
I thought you might do that, Stu. Terrific. What a match that's going to be. 2 more quarterfinals, though, tomorrow. Back with more, including your man of the match, right after this.
Romantic comedy from the creators of Cold Feet. If you found love at first sight and lost her, would you be dead?